Hey guys, school's out. Everybody's gone on vacation and left me at home by myself, so I don't have an audience except for the dog, and I don't think he really cares. But anyway, as a lot of you seen in the first video, I'm a truck driver for Southeastern Freight Lines. Been doing that probably about 20 years now. Some of you probably heard about the new hours of service rule that's trying to go into effect in July. There's a big stink about it. So I'm going to talk to you a few minutes about that and just give you a little bit of information on what's going on. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, defines the trucker as one whose business is transporting goods by truck. There were approximately 2,900,000 truck drivers in 2004. Most people really do not think about it, but almost everything that we touch or use today at one time or another was on a truck. People even say that if trucks stopped making deliveries to New York City, the city would run out of food and raw materials in 3 days. Whether this is true or not, I'm not sure, but it shows the importance of the trucking industry and the trucks to modern life. Oftentimes, distorted images and ideas are placed into people's heads. This can be said as far as the image of a truck driver is concerned. Many people think of a macho, tattooed, beer-guzzling, social guy when they think of a truck driver. The balloon-filled image can be popped. The average truck driver is nothing like the Hollywood truck driver. More truck drivers are just average people. They are not big macho guys that are full of tattoos. Some police and troopers are also cutting down on drunk driving and oftentimes pull over truck drivers and check them more than they do truck drivers. There's no social life either. To a driver, sometimes business comes first. That means that social life comes second on the primary list. There is no joining the town baseball league, and a truck driver may even miss some birthdays. With this in mind, it is easy to see why fewer than 6 of 10 new truck drivers last more than a month. Just a little bit of history about the hours of service. They were put into place in 1939 and stayed there for 60 years without any changes. The hours of service are implemented by the government that tell the transportation industry how many hours they can work in a day and a month. But as the new hours of service are coming into effect, things are changing. We've got better roads, better vehicles, better drivers. Due to these changes, issues in the trucking industry have come under scrutiny. Most recently, it's the hours of service regulations that have been in the spotlight. Hours of service regulations issued by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration that govern the working hours of anyone operating a commercial vehicle. The rules limit the number of daily and weekly hours drivers spend on the road and the minimum amount of time drivers must rest between hauls and shifts. All drivers are required to keep a log of working hours, which is checked by DOT officers at weigh stations or by the Highway Patrol during stops. While some drivers use paper logbook, others can use an electronic onboard recorder, which automatically records the amount of time spent driving. Because of the inconsistencies between the two methods of tracking hours of service, there is some debate actually as to whether all motor carriers should use the electronic tracking device. The hours of service rules have changed over the years, most recently in 2011. The Department of Transportation decided to take another look at the regulations and lop off a chunk of the number of hours a driver can spend behind the week on the wheel. The impacts behind the changes were a closer look at the impact of driver fatigue. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association states that the number of hours spent driving has a strong correlation to the number of fatigue-related accidents. According to the studies, the risk of fatigue is also greatest between hours of midnight and 6 in the morning, and increase with the total length of driver's trip. So the redesign to the hours of service was intended to prevent more accidents or injuries due to driver fatigue. The final rule was released in 2011. It reduces by 12 hours the maximum number of hours a truck driver can work within a week. Under the old rule, truck drivers could work on average up to 82 hours within a 7-day period. The new hours of service final rule limits a driver's work week to 70 hours. In addition, truck drivers cannot drive after working 8 hours without first taking a break of at least 30 minutes. The rule requires truck drivers who maximize their weekly work hours to take at least 2 nights rest when their 24-hour body clock demands sleep the most, from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. The rest requirement is part of the rule's 34-hour restart, provisions that allow drivers to restart the clock on their work week by taking at least 34 consecutive hours off duty. Drivers can take the 30-minute break whenever they need rest during the 8-hour window. The final rule retains the current 11-hour driving limit, but that could also change as the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association continues to analyze further risks associated with driving 11 hours per day. That's just a brief explanation of the hours of service. In conclusion, I can honestly say it does get rough at night, driving sometimes 10, 11 hours, especially during those hours of 1 a.m. to 5. I know how they feel. But hopefully they'll get this straightened out and we can continue on. Thank you. Have a good evening.